Hello, welcome to the second video, data structures. So in this video, we'll cover all the data structures you need to continue our course in Python. So the first data structure we're going to talk about is the list. Now, if a variable is like a bucket that holds a piece of information or piece of data, a list is like a bunch of buckets that holds a bunch of pieces of information. We can define a new list with some square braces and all the data inside it separated by commas. And then we can assign that to a name, just like we'd assign any other variable. And then if we want to see the contents of that list, we can just say its name in a Jupyter notebook. And so here we have it. Now let's say we just want a specific piece of data from that list. We can get it by its index. So we just use the list name, square braces, and then the index of, or the place in the list where that piece of data exists. So let's run that cell. Notice that it's C, not B, like you might expect. This is because lists are 0 indexed. That means that this first index here, A, is going to be index 0. This is going to be index 1, and finally C is going to be index 2. We can also go the other way around. So if this is index 0, then if we go all the way around back to the front, we can think of this as index -1 and -2 and -3. So let's try -3. There we go, we got B. Now I can also assign a particular spot in the list a new value. So let's take index 0, this A, and we'll make it a 5, and then we'll see what the list looks like. Yep, now we have the number 5, the integer 5, at the beginning of the list instead of A. We can also append to the end of the list. So what this is going to do is it's going to take F and push it onto the front of this end of the list. So let's look at what the list looks like after we append F to it. Yep, we got an F at the end, just like we'd expect. We can also get the length of the list with the len function, or len function. And that's just going to return or give us back the length of the list. So there we go, it's 5. 1, now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. We can also access chunks of the list by using square braces and then having, the beginning of where we want to start accessing, the colon, and then the end of where we want to start accessing. So this is going to go from index 1 to 3. This is going to go from the beginning of the list, because we didn't have anything before the colon, to index 3. This is going to go from 1 to the end of the list, and this is just another way of getting the whole list, from the very beginning to the very end. So it's going to be a little confusing, but let's just see what it looks like. Yep. So notice we have 1, and B is at index 1, and then we have 3, but C is at index 3, so yeah, it's exactly what you would expect. So then next we can talk about two-dimensional lists. A 2D list is just a list that contains other lists, because a list is just like any other kind of variable except for it holds multiple pieces of data. So a list can hold multiple lists too, because a list can hold anything. Ints, floats, booleans, or other lists. So here we have a 2D list, and inside of it we have several one-dimensional lists separated by commas. So let's see what that looks like. Now, just as a quick side note, if we want to look at one of the pieces of information inside a 2D list, we can access it by doing double square braces. So this will go into list 1, which is the second list, and go into the first or the second uh, index 1. So that should give us 5. And that's what we got. So next we can talk about tuples. Tuples are a little like lists, but they're immutable. You can't change their values like we did with the lists. So let's define a tuple with some smooth braces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is all integers, though a tuple could have any kind of values in it. And we'll assign it to my tuple, and then we'll show my tuple by writing it in the bottom of a Jupyter Notebook cell. And there we have it. Now, if we have a tuple, a special thing we could do is, notice how there's these 5 numbers. We can have 5 variables separated by commas, and we can just write the tuple name, and each of these numbers will get assigned to each of these variables. Each number will get assigned to a variable here. So 1 will go into A, 2 will go into B, and so forth. So let's look at A, B, and C after we do that. Yep, just like we'd expect, it's 1, 2, and 3. We can access tuples the same way we access chunks of lists by using this colon. So this is going to go from the beginning of the tuple all the way to index 2. And there we go. Next thing we're going to need to know about is sets. Sets are mutable. We can change their contents. But unlike the first two, duplicates aren't going to count for anything. So 1 can only appear once in the set. 2 can only appear once in the set. Also, order doesn't matter in this set, so it doesn't make sense to go from a particular index to another particular index in a set. A set is just, well, it's a set of values that has no order. So let's define a set with some curly braces around some numbers, and then we'll look at the set. Yep. Now let's add an element to the set. So let's add 4 to the set, and then look at it. Yep, we got 1 through 4, just like we would expect. Let's try adding 1, though, because 1 is already in the set. So let's see what happens. It doesn't give us an error, but it just still has only one number 1 in the set. Let's try and remove the number 2 and then look at the set with the .remove function or method. And yep, we now don't have the number 2. So that's everything about sets. Now we're finally going to move on to dictionaries. Dictionaries are like a list of key value pairs. So every key is going to have a particular value associated with it. So the key, like a string, might be the key. Usually it'll be a string for our purposes. The string key might be Bob, and it's going to have a value 17 separated by this colon, and the whole thing's inside curly braces. So Bob has a value 17 here. David has the value 50. James has the value 65. We can take this whole dictionary and give it to the ages variable, or put it in ages. So maybe each of these names is a person, and the key is their age. So let's run that. Then we can access values with the key in a very similar way we accessed values of a list with the index. So let's try that. Yep, we have the key Bob and we have the value 17. We can also reassign, very similar to how we did in lists. So let's give Bob now the value 18. Maybe he had a birthday. Great, 18. We can also provide a new key and new value, and this will be added to the dictionary. Here it is. We can also say maybe that was a mistake. Maybe we want to remove it. Well, we can do ages.pop Jeff. That'll remove Jeff, but at the same time, this is going to return the key, or the value associated with this key, and it's going to put it into the print statement. So let's look at that. First, we got the value of Jeff with this pop statement and printed it, which gets 40. Then we displayed ages, which now no longer has Jeff, and it looks like the lights just got turned off on me, but That's okay, because we made it to the end of this video. Good work sticking through to the end. There should be an exercises file that you can go through yourself, really test your knowledge and make sure you understand. And I'll see you in the next video.